What's going on, guys? Logan JYA Drykage here, and my tripod just broke before recording this, so we're doing this ghetto style. I've got a sick video for you guys answering a question I get asked all the time. What do we do when we don't open the right names to do our Drytron combos? Delta and Gamma are great cards, but seldom do they ever make full combo on their own. Or do they? We're gonna learn about it together. But before we do, I gotta give a huge shout out to my latest sponsor, XX Anime Dude. You gotta check out the shop down below. We have our own collaborative collection coming out of Drykage merch. You're definitely gonna wanna check that joint out. And the stuff that they have is high quality and super sick. I was sporting it all last stream, dude. Link in the description and the pinned comment down below. Also want to give a huge shout out to our fish Ned, the Drykage in training himself. And without further ado, let's get into it. Shit! Alright, my friends, if you're a Drytron duelist, you've inevitably been in the position where you open up with the wrong names, not an alpha or zeta in sight. And when this situation comes, what do you do? I'm going to give you a demonstration that hopefully will be helpful for you, depending on the build you prefer to play, with some lines that can take you to an end board that may still seal up that game for you, even if you don't open up with alpha or zeta or Nu-2. So without further ado, let's dive right in. Gamma, Delta are the guys we're starting off with. It'll also work with Beta if you're a Beta and decide to play them, but without further ado, let's get started. We're going to start things off with Gamma effect pitching off the Delta for cost, and we are able to bring the Delta back from the grave using its effect and saving that Delta effect for later on in the play. We'll overlay it into Moy Beta here and use its effect to send. That's going to give us Nu-2. We're starting off with the Nu-2-centric strategy. We'll use Nu-2's effect in grave, bringing itself back, and then using its other effect to search. That's going to grab us your Sartron. So we'll give him a free special summon onto the board, gives us the search, going to grab us the field spell. The Fafnir goes up, and that's going to grab us a copy of Nova. Next, we can take our Nova, activate it, and use it to summon out a copy of Alpha from deck for 100% free like so. And then I'm going to choose to link off my Sartron and my Alpha at this point to go into an IP Masquerena on the top. If you're trying to navigate around Nibiru a little bit better, I guess, I don't know, you're kind of cooked in these situations. I'm going to warn you that using these suboptimal hands, it's pretty tricky when you're playing through hand traps, as an FYI. If you ever want to play it super duper safe, you can always go Fuko Pass. But in this situation, we're disregarding hand traps, trying to put up the best board that we can with the suboptimal opening. So I'm going to link these two guys off, go for the IP Masquerena, and I'm actually going to use Alpha's effect, sacking off the entirety of our Moy Beta here, and summoning it back to the field, using its effect to search. That's going to grab us the Ben 10. Then for my next trick, I'm going to use the Delta in the grave, sacking off that Ben 10 because we need to trigger it somehow, summoning himself to the field, and that will give us a final Ben 10 search to grab us a Vanity's Ruler. So we can tribute off our extra names that we have on the board and throw down the Vanity's Ruler to give us a nice lock into the opponent's turn. So they're locked out of special summoning, and as a backup plan, if this gets stopped, say they only open up with one Imperm and they stop this, you still do have your IP tag out. You can tag out this, or you can tag out your Nu-2. It will be banished, but that's okay. And you can make yourself an SP Little Knight for an additional form of interruption. I also do want to mention the fact that if you take this route and you keep your Nu-2 on the field, you do have the bonus effect of the Fafnir field spell, which lets you change levels of your opponent's monsters. So keep that in mind too. It can be very, very important into the YuGiOh matchup. But that's one pathway you can take with the Nu-2-centric build. Let me show you something else. Alright, my friends, this next one goes out to my Herald enjoyers. If you're unfortunate enough to only open Gamma and Delta and no other names or means of searching them, let me show you another thing that you can do. You can go Gamma effect, same approach as our last combo, pitching off the Delta and immediately summoning it back to the field, overlaying your two guys into a Moy Beta. Moy Beta effect going to send off Alpha directly, and then we can use Alpha to sack off the entire Moy Beta, bringing himself back onto the field and grabbing us a free search for Ben 10. Then we can use Delta's effect in the grave, sacking this off, summoning him onto the field, triggering off that Ben 10 for the search, grabbing a copy of Choju. Then we can tribute summon for the Choju, using its effect for the free double search, and grabbing ourselves both Dawn of the Herald and the Perfection. Then we can play our Dawn, sacking off the Choju, summoning the Herald to the field, and using the Dawn's effect to lock and load the Choju into the hand as a form of interruption. Now, is this very great on its own? No, it is not. This is a single Omni Negate. And given that the year is 2025, that's not going to do you much good against the modern meta decks. But the reason why I want to show you this is because in a Herald-centric build, if you find yourself in the situation where you're only opening up with Delta and Gamma, what are those other cards in your hands? It's very possible that you may have opened up with some additional fairies. Now, let me say this. If Ben 10 is one of those additional fairies that you opened, your combo should look extremely different from what I just showed you. But if you didn't open up with Ben 10, I wanted to show you this because some of those other fairies you could have opened could have been things like Herald of Orange Light or Natasha, something like that. And if that's your situation, well, guess what? Every single fairy that you hard opened is another Omni Negate for your perfection. So I wanted to make sure that you know, if you open up with Gamma Delta, you can still find your way into a perfection with relative ease to lock and load those Omni Negates going into the opponent's turn. Again, we're talking about suboptimal circumstances here across the board. Nobody wants to only open with Gamma Delta, but if you do, do not fret. There are still plays that you can make. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and it was informative to those of you who've been asking me this very same question. That's going to be it for now. Logan JYA signing off. Have a great day, and I'll see you beautiful people later. Peace.